So now that we have found our aggregate expenditure function, right, we found our aggregate expenditure function, and in our hypothetical economy, it was 300 plus 0.5y. We then plotted that against the 45-degree line to find equilibrium where aggregate expenditures and national income are equal. So now we want to use that to derive the aggregate demand curve. So we want to know what happens to aggregate expenditures when there is a change in price. What impact does this have on the aggregate expenditure function and ultimately create aggregate demand? So let's start with a price increase. And actually let's draw a graph here. All right, so here, let's go different color. All right, here is our aggregate expenditure function, and here's our 45-degree line. Here is equilibrium. So on the vertical, we have aggregate expenditures, and on the horizontal, we have national income. Now below that, let's create another graph, and let's label the bottom as real GDP, and the vertical is going to be our price level, some measure of inflation, like CPI. So it's going to be a price index. Now, income is a measurement of GDP. So we can go down. National income is one way to measure GDP. So we can go down and we can measure. So here we are at our initial price level. And let's say that this is a CPI of 100. So at a CPI of 100, here's our real GDP, and it matches with that equilibrium where our national income and aggregate expenditures are equal. Now, let's suppose that prices go up. Okay, what impact do prices increasing have on aggregate expenditures? Well, recall what changes C and I and G and X minus IM. So the real balance effect said that if prices go up, then that means all the money in our savings doesn't go as far. So now we have to save more for retirement because we can't buy what we need because everything is more expensive. So if we have to save more, then we're going to have to consume less. Okay? Now, when we look at investment spending is also impacted by prices. This is what we call the interest rate effect. And according to the interest rate effect, when the price goes up, well, what happens to interest rates? So think back to the Fisher effect. The Fisher effect says that if we have inflation, if prices go up, then interest rates will do what? They have to go up as well. And if interest rates go up, then investment spending is going to do what? It's going to go down. Okay. The third thing that is impacted by price is what we call the foreign trade effect. And the foreign trade effect says that when the prices go up, well, if Canadian goods are now more expensive, then people in other countries are going to buy less of our goods. And we're going to buy more of foreign goods because they're cheaper than what we have here. So if exports go down and imports go up, then exports minus imports go down. Well, if consumption spending is decreasing and investment spending is decreasing and net exports are decreasing, then what's happening to aggregate expenditures? Aggregate expenditures is decreasing. So when the price goes up, now we're at a higher price, the equilibrium size of the economy is lower. So prices go up and consumption, investment, and net exports go down. And so we have here at our higher price, maybe that's a CPI of 120, that real GDP is less. Well, what if the price falls? What if the price goes down instead? According to the real balance effect, when the price goes down, then the money in our savings will go further, so we don't have to save as much, which means we can consume more. According to the interest rate effect, if the price goes down, then according to Fisher effect, the interest rates go down, and that's going to make investment spending go up. If prices go down, then Canadian goods are now cheaper. Other countries will buy more of our stuff, so exports will go up, and imports will go down. Exports go up, imports go down, because our stuff is cheaper than other people's, and that makes X minus IM go up. So notice that when the price falls, consumption spending goes up, investment spending goes up, net exports go up, which means all of these make aggregate expenditures go up. And that does what to our equilibrium? Here's our new equilibrium. And so at lower prices, we have a higher GDP. And so if you connect these dots, you've actually created the downward sloping aggregate demand curve. And it comes from the fact that when prices go up, autonomous spending decreases, and when prices go down, autonomous spending increases. We have the real balance effect, the interest rate effect, and the foreign trade effect.